Hello and welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. Let's get started and look into our daily quiz. Before we start with our today's practice questions, a quick general reminder. Byju's Exam Prep IAS has already launched its official Telegram channel. What is that you have to do? Follow the link given in the description box or scan this QR code. This will take you to our official Telegram channel. Join the channel so that you get all the current affairs related updates. Let's get started and look into the first question. Consider the following pairs. We have the temple on one side, the hills it is located on the other side. Badrinath Temple, Garhwal Hill, Varaha Lakshmi Narasimha Temple, Simhachalam Hills, Vaishnava Devi Temple, Trikuta Hills. Which of the above pairs is correctly matched? The answer to this is 1, 2 and 3. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to the Simhachalam temple. The Simhachalam temple is called by the name Sri Varaha Lakshmi Narasimha temple. In Simhachalam, this happens to be a Hindu temple situated on the Simhachalam hill range, which is 300 meters above the sea level in Visakhapatnam in the state of Andhra Pradesh. So remember, when you look into the practice question, we have the Badrinath temple. Yes, it is in Garhwal Hills. We have Varaha Lakshmi Narasimha temple. It is in Simhachalam Hills in Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh, and Vaishnava Devi temple, yes, is in Trikuta Hills. As part of the assignment, you have to put on the comment section other famous hill temples which can be asked in your preliminary examination. When we look into other factual data, Simhachalam temple resembles a fortress from outside with 3 outer courtyards and 5 gateways. The architecture is a mixture of the styles of the Kalinga architecture, Chalukyas, Kakatiyas and the Great Cholas. Simhachalam is the second largest temple after Tirumala in Andhra Pradesh in terms of income earned, and the temple faces the west instead of the east, signing the victory. Chandanotsava happens to be one of the famous festivals that takes place in this temple and is the most important festival celebrated in the temple. On this particular day, the sandalwood paste, which is usually on God, is removed so that devotees can see the original form of deity for about 12 hours. This happens every year annually in the Simhachalam temple. Now let's look into the next practice question. Consider the following statement. PNS Ghazi was a 10th class diesel electric submarine that was deployed during 1971 India-Pakistan war. The primary goal of PNS Ghazi was to find and sink INS Vikrant. Which of the statements given above are correct? The answer to this is both. Why have we taken this practice question? Because the same article makes a mention of PNS Ghazi. So remember, we have Pakistani naval submarine called as PNS Nazi, which was off the coast of Visakhapatnam on December 4th, 1971, and it was destroyed by the Indian Navy. Every year, December 4th is celebrated as Navy Day, and a monument victory at sea, adorned by an eternal flame, stands tall on the beach road. What is this PNS Ghazi issue all about? In 1971, India's Navy's Eastern Naval Command had effectively created a naval blockade. It did not allow any of the Pakistani ships to enter the eastern side of Pakistan back then, which happens to be the now Bangladesh. So what happened was the western Pakistan was completely isolated. It was not able to enter the eastern Pakistan in Bay of Bengal. Frustrated by this naval blockade, Pakistan decided to send the best submarine in its inventory, which happens to be PNS Ghazi. So what does Pakistan do? It sends its PNS Ghazi all the way from Karachi, and it ends up near Visakhapatnam as shown in this particular image. What were the major objectives of PNS Ghazi? One, it wanted to find INS Vikrant and it wanted to sink INS Vikrant, and at the same time it also wanted to lay mines on the India's eastern seaboard with or without accomplishing the primary objective. Both these were ultimately destroyed by India's naval forces. So PNS Ghazi quietly sailed out of Karachi harbour on November 14, 1971, and eventually it was destroyed by the Indian Navy. So this article currently goes on to say that the boat was sent by Pakistani Navy to sink the Indian aircraft carrier INS Vikrant, wrong feeding of the intelligence input, and some clever maneuver by the then Chief of Eastern Naval Command, Vice Admiral N. Krishnan, and the top brass of the Navy and RAW, led Ghazi to Vishakhapatnam, which was sunk by INS Rajput, an R-class destroyer with depth charges. This can be very important from the preliminary examination point of view. Now let's look into the next practice question. With respect to India-August movement, which of the following statements are correct? It was launched at the Bombay session of the All India Congress Committee by Mahatma Gandhi during World War II. It was during this movement Gandhi gave the slogan to the people of do or die. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is both. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to Mahatma Gandhi. When we speak about India August movement, it is also called as August Kranti and it is called as Quit India movement. It was officially launched by Indian National Congress led by Mahatma Gandhi on 8th of August 1942. The movement gave the slogans like Quit India, Bharat Chodo, and Gandhi also gave the slogan to the people, do or die as well. In line with the Congress ideology, it was supposed to be a peaceful, non-violent movement aimed at urging the British to grant Indian independence, and the resolution stated the provisions of the movement as immediate end to British rule over India, declaration of commitment of free India to defend itself, formation of provisional government of India after British withdrawal, and sanctioning a civil disobedience movement against the British rule. During this Quit India movement, which is also called as the India August movement, we have Gandhi, who also gave series of instructions to multiple communities as well as sections of the people. He said the government servants not to resign the job but proclaim loyalty to the Indian National Congress, to the soldiers to be with the army but refrain from firing on compatriots, to the peasants pay the agreed upon rent if the landlords or the zamindars are anti-government, if they are pro-government do not pay the rent, to the students can leave studies if they are confident enough, to the princes support the people and accept the sovereignty of them, and to the people of the princely states he said support the ruler only if he is anti-government and declare themselves as part of the Indian nation. These were some of the instructions given by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi on the Quit India movement platform. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which one of the following diseases is caused by cadmium pollution? Achondroplasia, infant methemoglobinemia, itai itai minamata. The answer to this is itai itai. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Indian Express makes a reference to the cadmium pollution. So this article here basically says that when water was tested in Delhi, it had some concentration of cadmium which could ultimately harm the health of the people. So if we speak about cadmium and itai itai, itai itai happens to be one of the diseases, and this is caused by the cadmium pollution, and itai itai was a term coined by the locals because they felt severe pain with the condition felt in the spine as well as the joints. And cadmium poisoning basically causes softening of the bones and the kidney failure as well. Cadmium has been widely dispersed into the environment through the air by its mining and the smelting as well as other man-made routes like the usage of phosphate fertilizers, presence in the sewage sludge, various industrial uses such as NICD batteries, plating, pigments as well as the plastics. And cadmium can also be seen in the food chain as well. It is found in the meat, especially sweet meat such as liver and kidney. In certain areas, cadmium concentrations are elevated in shellfish as well as mushrooms. Cadmium can also enter the food chain from water. In Japan, zinc mining operations contaminate the local water supplies with cadmium. Local farmers use that water for irrigation of their fields, and the soil became contaminated with cadmium, which led to the uptake of cadmium into their rice. And when people consumed it, they felt pain in their spine as well as bones, and over a period of time, this was called as itai itai because they felt a lot of pain in it. So if we speak about heavy metals, what do we have? We have chromium, mercury, arsenic, cadmium, lead, so on and so forth. And these heavy metals, when they are in water, could lead to several neurological diseases in humans, including Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and multiple sclerosis over a period of time. This article here is primarily speaking about cadmium, and cadmium causes what is called as ittai disease. As part of the assignment, you have to put on the comment section what is caused by mercury. What is the disease that is caused by mercury? Please put it on the comment section. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which one of the following statements best reflects the idea behind the fractional orbital bombardment system often talked about in media? A hypersonic missile is launched into space to counter the asteroid approaching the Earth and explode it in space. A spacecraft lands on another planet after making several orbital motions. A missile is put into a stable orbit around the Earth and deorbits over a target on the Earth. A spacecraft moves along a comet with the same speed and places a probe on its surface. Which of the statements best describes about fractional orbital bombardment system? The answer to this is C, which means a missile is put into a stable orbit around the Earth and deorbits over a target on the Earth. This happens to be a previous year question from the year 2022. Now let's look into the fact of the day. The fact of the day for today's discussion is melting Arctic ice. Let us try and understand what is this article all about. This article currently goes on to say a team of researchers has flagged the changing chemistry of the western region of the Arctic Ocean after discovering acid levels increasing 3 to 4 times faster than the ocean water elsewhere. Let us try and understand what is this article all about. This article here is speaking about fasting melting of the Arctic ice. This is in reference to the glacier melting. Since the early 1900s, many glaciers around the world have been melting rapidly. Why? That is because of the activities of the human beings. So the human activities are at the very root of this phenomena. Because we release a lot of greenhouse gases, we make use of the fossil fuels. This heats up the atmosphere, and ultimately with the impact of the industrial revolution, carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases have raised the temperature even higher in the poles as well, and as a result what we are witnessing is glaciers are rapidly melting, and this means there will be increase of the water across the world. What are the effects of this glacier melting? The most important happens when it comes to the coastal region. What would happen? Because the glaciers are melting, with the release of the greenhouse gases, there would be rise of the sea level, and whenever there is rise of the sea level, who will suffer the most? It will be the coastal community. So the coastal community, let's say for example in India we have the coastal community. So rise of the sea water basically means that these people who are on the coastal lines will have to move inward, and there will be loss of lives as well, there will be loss of livelihood as well, there will be loss of property as well, and at the same time what we will also have is environmental migration. So people along the coastlines, because of the rise of the water, they may have to move away from the coastal waters inland, and as a result what we will have is environmental migration. Melting glaciers also add significantly to the rising sea levels. This also means it causes coastal erosion. It also elevates storm surge as well, as warming air and ocean temperatures create more frequent and intense coastal storms, and this may also increase the cyclones along the coastal waters. So some of the impact would be: one is the internal migration, second happens to be more cyclones, hurricanes, so on and so forth, and as a result coastal communities will eventually need to move inland. This article currently goes on to say that because of such increase of the temperature, what we are witnessing is the Arctic ice is turning the ocean acidic. Let us understand what is this all about. Any liquid that contains water can be characterized on the basis of its pH level. This pH level basically ranges from 0 to 14, with pure water considered as neutral with a pH of about 7. All levels lower than 7 are called as acidic, and all levels greater than 7 are called as basic or alkaline, with each step representing a tenfold difference in the hydrogen ion concentration. So this article has said that scientists have predicted by 2050 Arctic sea ice in this region will no longer survive the increasingly warm summers. As a result, ocean's chemistry will grow more acidic, creating life-threatening problems for diverse population of sea creatures, plants and other living beings that depend on the healthy ocean. It takes the example as well. Crabs, for example, live in a crusty shell built from the calcium carbonate prevalent in the ocean water. Polar bears rely on the healthy fish population for food. Fish and seabirds rely on the plankton and plants, and seafood is a key element for many human diets. Seawater is normally alkaline with a pH value of around 8.1. If it turns acidic, many species will be impacted, and ultimately this will disturb the entire ecology as well. They also point to sea ice melt as a key mechanism to explain the rapid pH decrease because it changes surface water in three ways. What is it? First, the water under the sea ice, which had a deficit of carbon dioxide, is now exposed to the atmospheric carbon dioxide and can take it up freely. The seawater mixed with the meltwater is light and can't mix easily into the deeper waters, which means the carbon dioxide is concentrated at the surface, and the meltwater dilutes the carbonate ion concentration in the seawater, weakening its ability to neutralize the carbon dioxide into bicarbonate and rapidly decreasing ocean pH. This ultimately means many other species are bound to suffer as well. This will not only impact the species, this will also impact the economy as well. Let's say there are multiple areas where there is a source of fishing. These fishing areas will be impacted, but one thing that we have to look at is that as there is glacier melting at the Arctic region, what you will have is opening up of the glaciers. This will lead to number of shipments moving along this particular lane. We would be able to discover natural gas in this particular area. We would also be able to discover fossil fuels in this particular area. So there is a window of opportunity as well if there is glacier melting that happens in the Arctic region. Most of it will only be the disadvantages, but because this region is now glacier free, ships would be able to move easily, and as a result we would be able to explore the economic activities in this part of the Arctic. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.